You bought a loaf of bread on Monday. Tuesday, it's fine. Wednesday, a little off. Thursday, you open the bag and it's gone. Hard, dry, borderline inedible. Now imagine this. In Paris, in Rome, in Prague, people buy bread with no packaging at all. No twist tie, no expiration date printed in 9-point font. They carry it home under their arm like a newspaper. And that bread, it lasts. Not because Europeans have some magical ancient baking secret, but because of something America decided to do to your bread, deliberately, decades ago. And they never told you. Let's go back to 1928, Chillicothe, Missouri. A man named Otto Frederick Rohwedder just sliced a loaf of bread with a machine for the first time in human history. The sliced loaf. It was called, and I am not making this up, the greatest forward step in the baking industry since bread was wrapped. America went absolutely crazy for sliced bread. And the problem? Sliced bread goes stale faster, way faster. When you cut through a loaf, you expose more surface area. More surface area means more moisture escapes. More moisture lost means your bread is dead in 24 hours. So the baking industry had a choice. They could accept that sliced bread spoils quickly and sell it that way, or they could find a way to cheat biology. They chose to cheat biology. And what they added to your bread to solve the problem is at the center of one of the most interesting food industry cover-ups of the 20th century. Here's the actual science. Bread goes stale because of a process called retrogradation. The starch molecules in your bread, which are soft and flexible when freshly baked, start to recrystallize as the bread cools. They stiffen, they tighten, they push moisture out. That's not rot, that's not mold, that's just physics, and it happens to every loaf of bread on the planet. So how do you stop it? Short answer, you can't fully stop it, but you can slow it down. And the American baking industry discovered that if you add certain chemicals, specifically a group of compounds called dough conditioners, you can dramatically extend how long bread stays soft. Calcium propionate, monoglycerides, datum, azotic carbonamide, a compound also used in yoga mats, by the way, and banned in the European Union and Australia. Yoga mats. Let that sit for a second. Subway was publicly pressured into removing it from their bread in 2014. But walk into any regular grocery store in America right now and pull a bag of standard white bread off the shelf. Read the label. I'll wait. You'll find compounds that a European baker would look at and genuinely not recognize as food ingredients. Because in Europe, they're not allowed to be food ingredients. Now, here's where it gets genuinely interesting. Because the story of American bread isn't just a story about chemicals. It's a story about a regulatory philosophy that split the Western world in half. The United States operates on what's called the Generally Recognized as Safe principle, GRS. What this means in practice, a substance is allowed in food unless it's been proven harmful. The burden is on proving danger. The European Union flipped this model entirely. The EU uses what's called the precautionary principle. A substance is not allowed in food unless it's been proven safe. The burden is on proving safety. This single philosophical difference, who carries the burden of proof, explains why European bread contains flour, water, salt, yeast, and maybe a little oil. And American bread contains flour, water, salt, yeast, oil, and then a list of additional ingredients that takes up 2 lines on the label. And here's the part nobody talks about. It wasn't always this way. American bread before the 1950s was closer to European bread than you'd imagine. The shift happened during the post-war industrial boom when the entire food industry scaled up, fast, and preservatives and additives were the tool that made mass distribution possible. Bread that lasts a week on a shelf doesn't need to be baked locally. It can be made in a factory in one state and shipped across the country. And that one change, shelf life over flavor, convenience over craft, restructured the entire American bread market. Thousands of local bakeries closed. A handful of industrial producers took over. And what you get today, that soft, white, plasticky loaf, is the direct descendant of that industrial compromise. But wait, because there's still one more thing I haven't told you, and this one is the part that should genuinely bother you. Okay, so now you know about retrogradation. You know about grass versus the precautionary principle. You know about the industrial bread takeover of the 1950s. But I haven't told you the strangest fact yet. Because there is one ingredient, one completely natural, totally chemical-free ingredient that Europeans use which makes a bigger difference to bread's shelf life than any of the additives on that American label. And it costs nothing extra to add. It's been used for thousands of years, and American industrial bakers mostly abandoned it in the 20th century, not because it didn't work, but because it was slow. And that ingredient is time itself. Traditional European bread, the kind that doesn't go stale by Thursday, is made using long fermentation. Sometimes 12 hours, sometimes 24, sometimes longer. During this time, wild yeasts and naturally occurring bacteria work through the dough. They break down complex starches. They produce acids, lactic acid, acetic acid, that give bread flavor, yes, but also act as natural preservatives. They modify the gluten structure in a way that keeps the crumbs soft longer. This is why a real sourdough from a San Francisco bakery, which uses the same long fermentation method, lasts nearly as long as its European cousins. It's not magic. It's microbiology. It's what bread did naturally for most of human history, until we decided that 4 hours was too long to wait. Industrial American bread uses what's called the Chorleywood process, developed in the UK in 1961, adopted across American and British industrial baking almost immediately. It slashes fermentation time from hours to minutes by using high-speed mixing, extra yeast, and a cocktail of additives. You can produce a loaf in under 3 hours from raw ingredients to bagged product. It's efficient, it's scalable, it makes bread cheaper. And it produces bread that stales faster, tastes blander, and requires synthetic additives to compensate for the fermentation that was skipped. The very thing that was solved with chemistry, the short shelf life, was caused by the same industrial process that the chemistry was invented to fix. It's a problem the industry created for itself, and then sold you the solution, at a markup. So next time someone tells you that European bread is better because Europeans care more about food, you can tell them the actual story. It's not about culture. It's not about passion. It's about regulation, fermentation time, and a decision made in a factory in the 1960s that changed what bread means in America forever. Europe didn't keep their bread better. America made theirs worse, on purpose, for profit, and then forgot to tell anyone. And before I let you go, because I always leave you with one more thing to think about, I want to talk about something that isn't bread, something sweeter, something yellow. You know what a banana tastes like. You've eaten hundreds of them, but here's the thing. The banana you're eating right now, every banana on every supermarket shelf in America, is not the banana your grandparents ate, and the one they ate, it was dramatically, undeniably more delicious. The banana that dominated the global market until the 1950s was called the Gros Michel. Big Mike, thicker skin, richer flavor, naturally creamier texture. People who have tasted surviving Gros Michel specimens describe the difference as night and day. Some say it actually tasted like the artificial banana flavoring in candy, because that flavoring was designed to replicate the Gros Michel, not the Cavendish we eat today. The Gros Michel was wiped out by a fungal disease, Panama disease caused by Fusarium oxysporum, that swept through plantations across Central America in the 1950s. It was catastrophic. The entire monoculture, made in millions of identical plants, had zero genetic resistance, because they were all clones, every single one, just like the Cavendish that replaced them. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. The Cavendish, your banana, the one in your kitchen right now, is currently under threat from a new strain of the same disease, Tropical Race 4. It's already spreading through Asia, Australia, the Middle East, parts of Africa. Scientists are racing to find a solution. The banana industry is worth approximately $44 billion, and it might be facing the same collapse that killed the Gros Michel 70 years ago. So the next time you peel a banana, think about Big Mike, the banana that tasted better, the banana we lost, and the banana we might be about to lose again, Dees, because nobody learned from the first time. All right, you now know why your bread dies in a day, and why the banana you love might not be around forever. But I have to ask you something before you go. You know orange juice, right? That classic American breakfast staple. Fresh squeezed, natural. On every breakfast table in the country, you probably had it this week. What if I told you that fresh orange juice, the kind sold in cartons, stored at room temperature or refrigerated for months, is sometimes deoxygenated and stored in massive tanks for up to a year before being repackaged and sold to you? That the flavor you associate with fresh is added back with something called a flavor pack, a proprietary blend of orange byproducts developed by the same fragrance companies that make your perfume. I'll see you there.